kids are big into Nerf, and I got these tiny little Nerf darts all over the house. I mean, they're bloody everywhere. But I'm, kind of a neat little design. And I was at the resale shop the other day. I found this guy. It's a foam roller. Looks like a Gold's Gym foam roller. Got it for 75 cents. It's like, hey, that kind of looks like a Nerf dart. Hey, rocket-propelled Nerf dart. Hey, this could be fun. So, got me a nice PVC cap, put on the front of that, and I'm going to paint that orange and fix it on there. I'm going to try to go finless with this, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. But my theory is if I start boring out the inside of this thing up to about here, and with the weight of the nose cone, nose cone, on the top of it, and with the engine mounted somewhere up in here, it should have enough top mass and trailing mass behind the thrust that it'll essentially function like a bottle rocket. It has, the motor at the top and the stick that extends down the bottom to make it stable, and all the mass is toward the front. So I'm thinking that should keep it stable. Not to mention it's going to have a lot of base drag. It's about 6 inches in diameter, and that should hopefully mimic something like a spool rocket. That's kind of my theory. Unfortunately, open rocket doesn't know what to do with base drag or anything like this, so I can't really simulate it. What I'm thinking is I'll grab a hole saw. This is about a 4-inch hole saw, and just start pulling plugs out of this, just to core this out about 2/3 of the way up as much as I can, and just trying to hog some of that out. And then we'll put a motor mount up into the base of it. It's like, hey, dude, that's gonna melt, don't you know? I'm going to line the inside of it with this foil tape, and hopefully that should keep the plastic from turning into a flaming pile of napalm. But we'll see. If it works, it'll be the world's biggest rocket-propelled, only rocket-propelled Nerf dart. It'll be tumble recovery, and since it's nose weighted, it should just go up and then come back down and just impact into the ground. I think this PVC should handle it just fine. We'll see. Let's just start coring this out. And it fits just about perfect in the center ring of this thing, so, whoa, hello. That's just not going to be slow enough. That's not going to be slow enough, so I'm going to rig up the drill press to do the first couple of runs on these, I think, because that's just not going to work. Well, getting there. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but got most of it hogged out. We're up to about here, looks like, so I'd like to get closer to here, actually. Got to put the extension on. Got the drill press rigged up here. It's working all right, but I still need to hog out it makes a nice edge, mostly nice edge, but I need to still get some of the stuff hogged out here. So. All we're going to get out of the drill press, I think. Well, I don't know if you can see that too well, but it's getting there. I've got about to there, which is about what I want, I think. Let's see, that puts the center of gravity about 2/3 with just the shell itself, so that's not too bad. With the cap on there. Pretty dang far forward, actually, pretty much right at the cap. That's about it right there. Actually, it's probably even into the cap slightly. So that's perfect. But I'm thinking for the engine mount, we just mark the center here and just drill it straight through here. Happen to have some 29mm stock right there. Let's see if we can find a drill bit that'll fit this. I think that's almost exactly. Just do a few of these. That's awesome. There we go, all the way through. Good. Engine mount in there. Perfect. Right, mark that. There we go. I think that might work. Yeah, I think that'll work. Bit of a partial, looks like. All right, well, let's mix up some epoxy here and see if this stuff dissolves this foam, because that's got me a little bit worried. Not going to be too terribly bad for it. Let's see here real quick. Doesn't look like it's doing anything to it, I don't think. I mean, that looks pretty, it's not soft or anything like that, so it's not, doesn't look like it's dissolving it. There's the storms. Alright, just pop that right in there. Let that set up a little bit. Looks pretty good. Looks like that's seated in there very nicely. So, cool. I'm going to paint this thing orange like the tip of the Nerf dart. But I'm going to sand it first, I think. Alright, so yesterday we had the bong launch. I didn't get to launch the Nerf dart. The range safety officer took a look at the plastic cap, the PVC cap on there. Didn't want to risk it. It's a bit solid for sure, but didn't want to risk it. There was a lot of people there, so couldn't really certify it. Wasn't sure, that it would be stable, and wasn't sure it wasn't going to melt and go off and come toward the crowd. Most of the people there wanted to see it fly, including the range safety officer and everybody else I talked to. So they were actually hesitant about turning it down, but because they really wanted to see it fly, and so do I. So kind of took some lessons back from that. Found a couple of ways to demonstrate that it's stable, because there's just no way to model this with software without fins on it. And since it is so forward, I can pretty much guess that it's stable just because the center of gravity is well forward of where the nozzle is. So we're going to try what's called a string test and see if this thing is aerodynamically stable. As you can see, the center of gravity is pretty far forward, but we're going to go out here in a second and just twirl this thing around and see see if it flies straight and see if it's aerodynamically stable. The other concern they had, of course, was the fact that the motor is way up in there and it's made out of foam, and that this thing would just catch fire and melt. So I'm thinking we just take a blowtorch and just stick it in there and see how hot it gets. We could ground fire this, but it seems like a waste of an engine. So yeah, basically the string test, you just get the string looped around the rocket on its center of gravity and spin it and see if it flies straight. So let's see what she does. I've got an E20 rocket motor in here right now. Should be enough to get it an initial flight. So let's get dizzy.
That's looking pretty flyable.
That is pretty stable. I'm not. I'm dizzy. I need to go the other way. But yeah, that's pretty stable. So it's symmetrical. So center of pressure should be here. Center of gravity should be well up here. So that should be stable, even though it doesn't look like it and it doesn't have fins. That's kind of why the plastic cap is here, to get the center of gravity up. Which was unfortunately one of the things that got me banned from the launch. But the other concern was the durability of this to heat. I did foil line this like we saw before, but everybody was concerned as to whether this foam would just melt. So let's see how heat resistant this is. I've got a MAP gas torch. I'm just going to stick it in there just like a rocket flame, and we'll see what it does. Just a quick little shot. That's about as quick as we got. Got a little smoke coming out of there, and it's plenty warm. Yeah, the tape is hot to the touch, but it cools off pretty quick. I mean, it's already, it's already pretty cool in there. But there's no soft spots in the foam, and what I can touch and push on, I'm not feeling any soft spots or melted foam. It also didn't melt anything around the, really anything appreciable around the engine mount either, because that's not foam covered. And of course that's a static test with the flame going the wrong way, so that's, theoretically slightly more intense than this thing going up through the air. So it won't instantly melt. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Next step, I think, is to just put it on a rail and see what it does. All right, well, here it is, launch day. Got the thing rigged up on the rail. I've got the rail at a pretty good angle. Got an E20 in there right now. Figured this should only go about a couple hundred feet. And we got a fair space down range, and maybe we'll even hit a goal. So, here we go. And here is rocket-propelled Nerf dart. Turn on the ignition. Good tone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the button. Well, she's stuck on the rail. Yeah. Well, definitely everybody's worst fear. The inside just completely melted, looks like. Not surprised.
That is odd that it would hang up in there, though.
Well, I think it was the buttons on the rails there.
Oh.
This one melted.
This one melted about halfway up, and that's what made it stick.
Yeah, you had to have something to hold it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what made it stick there. So, yeah, that's it. Well, there's rocket-propelled Nerf dart that didn't fly, but didn't hurt anybody either. So that didn't work so well. And that's kind of what we wondered, if the heat would just totally burn out the insides of this thing. And actually, it's not terribly bad. We lost, you can see by the launch, we lost the lower button pretty much right off the bat. That started to melt almost immediately, and that button hung up, and it, that was kind of the end of it. It never left the rail after that point. Motor mount's still good. Most of the foam is still there, other than the part here. Some of the tape is still there, but that definitely wasn't enough to protect it. But like I said, the motor mount's still good. The top end of it's still pretty good, and there's still a fair amount of this foam left. So it fared all right. Just wasn't able to see if it actually flew or not, so that's too bad. But on to version 2, I think. We've got some ideas to help keep the heat dissipation a little bit better on the inside. I'm thinking instead of that tape, we go with maybe a piece of dryer vent maybe that'll work a little better. You know, that should be a little bit thicker, a little bit more heat resistant. Maybe we wrap that in a blanket of the Nomex just to see if that kind of insulates a little bit. That might be worth a shot. But on to round 2.